Okay, let's talk about one of the first things that we're officially going to do with some equations. And we're going to talk about solving an equation by division. Now, first off, anytime we've got something that we do not know, we can name a variable. So let's just talk about what a variable is right now. And a variable is going to be represented by a symbol and it's going to represent a value that we either don't know or can vary. So that means that if I've got a variable, it just basically points to some value that we don't know yet, or we can change if we want to. Now, depending on what we're doing, well, what we're going to be doing here is it's just going to be, if it's an equation, it's just going to be a value we don't know yet. So, say I've got some number like, let's say I've got some number like n, and I don't know anything about n right now. But I'm going to do something like, say, let's multiply n by 3. And if I've got 3 times n, and I'll set that equal to something like, I don't know, 18. By the way, your book is going to write things like this. You're going to see me often write this without the symbol in between them. If there's no symbol in between these two things, that means that we're multiplying these two values. That's 3 times n is equal to 18. This is just a different way of writing it. Okay. Now, with this equal sign acts as basically a barrier. I'm saying that these two things are equal. 3 times our variable is equal to 18. And if we want to, we could say, well, 3 times what would be 18? Well, it's pretty easy to see here that that this n would be equal to 6. But what we're going to do is, when we have an equation like this, we're going to take both sides and do the same thing to both sides. As long as I do the same operation to both sides, do the same thing to both sides, what I'm doing is legal. So this is basically a property of do the same thing to both sides. And this basically relates to a property of equations we call the equality property. Well, guess what? What happens when I divide 3n by 3? Well, just like a fraction, these things are going to reduce. I'd be left with n over 1, or just n on this one side. Over here, 18 divided by 3, well, if I were to reduce this fraction, it would be 6 over 1, or just a 6. And I'd be done right there. As long as we do the same thing to both sides of our equation, it's going to be valid. And to check our answer, we can check to see if this is correct. We can check by plugging in this value into our original equation. To see if this is a valid answer. We started off with this 3 times n equals 18. Well, let's see if 3 times this 6 is in fact equal to 18. Well, that looks like good math to me. 3 times 6 is in fact 18. Our answer checks out. Our answer is still 6 though. It's not 18. Answer is 6. Okay. Let's do it again. Let's see if this pattern continues to hold. Say we've got something like say I've got something like 32 is equal to 4y. By the way, notice that my variable's on the other side now. That's okay. It doesn't always have to be on the same, it doesn't always have to be on the left, it can be on the right. No matter what side of the equation our variable's on, the process is going to remain the same. We're going to divide to get our variable by itself. So we're going to divide by this number. We're not always dividing by the big number, we're not always dividing by anything else. We're going to divide by the number attached to our variable. And by the way, this number is called our coefficient. So we're going to divide by the coefficient. Okay, let's take both sides and divide by 4. And these things are going to reduce just like a fraction. 4 divided by 4 is going to be 1. 32 divided by 4 is going to be 8. So I'm going to end up with 8 equals y. Incidentally, this is the level of work I want to see in your homework. I realize that you might be able to do it in your head. Please show me the work. And the reason why I want you to get used to this is it's not always going to be immediately clear what your answer is. Let's throw you a couple of curveballs just to show you what I mean. So let's say I've got something like 7b is equal to 0. Okay, fairly straightforward. Let's go ahead and just divide both sides by 7. And this one, a lot of times, gets some people. I've divided both sides by 7. Okay, I've just got b is equal to, well, 0 divided by 7 is going to be 0. And that's a valid answer. I can have my answer be 0. 0 is a number. It's okay. And if I were to check this, well, 7 times 0 equals 0. Yeah, anything times 0 is 0. No, 0 equals 0. Done. Okay. And that looks a little bit like emoji, but it isn't. Let's do one last one just to show you how versatile this can be. I could have something like, how about I say 8m is equal to 18. Well, let's take both sides here and divide by 8. 18 doesn't go into 8, or 8 doesn't go into 18 very neatly though, but I could reduce this fraction. 18 divided by 8 looks like I could divide both the top and bottom by 2. I'd end up with 9 over 4. Oh, 9/4. Your answer could be a fraction. It is okay to have fractions as answers. Alrighty. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video.